Texas at 260-1870, the Oakland Hard Talk text line. Good morning, Albert.
Hey, Doug, what's going on?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. They did. They have. It is. That's huge. Well, it tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow night. As do the Saints. And Do you? Yeah. Well, Kirk Cousins is no Patrick Mahomes, but yeah, I think last week one of the keys to historically from beating Kirk Cousins is just putting pressure on him. He's just not if you much like Derek Carr. If you give him time, he can move the matriculate, as Hank Stram says, ball down the field. But otherwise, if you put pressure on him, that's when he sort of chunks it. And saying so, but Mahomes is a different deal. It's interesting. Every time I watch Patrick Mahomes, I just keep thinking that the Saints were going to pick him, and Andy Reid in Kansas City traded up for him. And I would dare say that if he was selected by the Saints, Sean Payton still would be with the Saints without a question, and we'd probably be in a different situation. But that just shows you fate. Back in 1973, I believe, the Saints were going to pick Walter Payton, and Chicago Bears picked him right in front of him. They were all in for him. So it just the way fate sort of occurs. And you were talking about the prevent defense that the Saints play against the Falcons. I can honestly say I think they've been playing that same prevent defense since 1967 against the Falcons in so many so many games. Yes, and you think about it yesterday because when I looked at the roster yesterday's game, college football, they only had one top 25 matchup where two teams in the top 25 were playing was Missouri and Texas A&M. The rest of the teams were playing. There were not, one team was in the top 25, but not the other. And given that you had Alabama lose, you had Tennessee lose, you had Michigan lose, you had Missouri lose, and you had USC lose, which are all in the top 11. And then you had Miami, who should have lost to California. California had a what 25 point lead and lost it. So that goes to show. I think what it shows you now, and I have to attribute this to NIL for better or for worse, is parity in the sense in transfer portal. Probably more so for the transfer portal than anything else, but the parity they have in college football. So you had what 5 out of the top 12 teams lose yesterday. And 4 of those teams lost to non-top 25 teams, which bodes well for LSU because if LSU's going into Ole Miss next weekend at 4-1, and if they could get, I think you're going to have at least 1 or 2 teams from the SEC with a 2-loss record. And you might even get in a 3-loss, 1 or 2 3-loss teams into the 12, the final 12, the playoff. So I really think that it's going. Ohio State seems to be the only team that has the potential to go undefeated. I don't see Texas going undefeated through the SEC season. And so it's going to be sort of a free-for-all, which is going to be fun in the sense that in the second and third week of November, you're probably going to have 25, maybe 15 or 20 games that are significant for making the playoffs. which will make it exciting. Like we've never had that before. And in the NCAA, you always had like one or two games that would be relevant in November to the playoffs or getting to the Final Four, or maybe two or three. But now you're going to have sort of a free for all, and it's, yes, right, right. It. Yeah, I, I was watching a Vanderbilt game, and we have a Sunday morning crowd. A lot of them are going to church right now, and so they interviewed the Vanderbilt quarterback at the end of the game. And I'm keeping it PG, but he had the unique ability to drop the F bomb in the middle of a prayer. So that was sort of, that was sort of a unique form of thanks there. So maybe if we could have a priest who could call us and sort of theologically square that for us, but we were just but he was, needless to say, he was very very excited. But it was that's what the trans when you have something like the transfer portal, when you have something like the NIL, after it happens, you're going to have a lot of unintended consequences, which are good, may be good or bad. And one of the good unintended consequences is, and we all can argue whether transfer portal is good for college football and all. It's here, but a lot of people will say, "Oh, the good old days when you didn't have that, and you could, you didn't have to deal with re-recruiting your players all the time." It's something that is good in the sense that it seems to have evened off the talent, and the worst teams in college football and the best teams in college football seem to be closer in talent than they were before. There's not such a wide disparity. And so as we go through October, I think you're going to see more and more upsets. And I think you'll see in the top 15, you're going to see 4 or 5 teams every week getting upset or beaten, which is good. Which is good for college football, and it makes it exciting. And kudos to Tulane, um, just rolling over UAB. It was a 71-20. Yes, I mean they just total domination. And the coach Summerall, we had actually, I think we met him last spring at a luncheon, and when he spoke, like, this guy is the real deal. And my thought at the time, in watching him interact, watching him make his presentation, I was thinking, uh-oh, Tulane's going to have a hard time holding on to this guy because he's that good. He is really that good. And he's really got him playing. And, I mean, he was talking about this third-string quarterback who kept showing up in spring camp and kept showing up in fall camp. And he's like, gee, I don't know how I'm going to keep him off the field. And he's making us forget, Pratt, basically. So I mean, he's a redshirt freshman, and he just reminds me a little bit of I don't want to say just a lot of composure, sort of a trying to. I don't want to say Jaden Daniels because that's probably not fair, but just a lot of composure. right, against Kansas State. Yes. Yeah, they'd have to run. They'd definitely have to run the table to get in. Um, one before we go to a break, one other is Jaden Daniels. Is when the Bears had picked Caleb Williams, that was a definite mistake. And again, I think the Bears did a analysis on how does Caleb Williams look all the way up to the national anthem, and he had all the measurables more so than Daniels in the sense that maybe he was a little more solid as far as physically could maybe withstand NFL, day to day with NFL with Jaden being sort of frail for a quarterback. I'm gonna say frail, thin, and but after the national anthem is played, there are two different players, and I think Chicago missed on that. Northern Iowa, yeah. I think someone, whoever picked Caleb Williams, is probably going to be fired in about 3 years when he's relegated to third string, and Jaden Daniels is has superstar status. If you think about this, he's completing 83% of his passes. And when we thought that Drew Brees was completing 70% of his passes, we were thinking we'll never see another quarterback like that. Now they're going to scout him. They're going to start finding out his vulnerabilities. Those numbers are going to start going down somewhat, but just an amazing start. And he's just, and I think give kudos to LSU because they have coached him up in order to teach him how to process. If you take his development from his junior year to his senior year, reading defenses, how to process the game, I think you give a lot of credit to the LSU staff on doing that, and and that shows you the difference. Yeah, that shows you the difference between a lot of players once they get to be quarterback is you know aside from the physical attributes, is how do you process the game? And obviously, Jaden Daniels has that Drew Brees, Burrow type of processing between the years. And Caleb remains to be seen. All right, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout. Hey, good choice of music. Yeah, I know. I don't know that Williams. I think Williams is going to be. He could be if he matures, but I'm not very impressed. Yeah. Well, and Kingsbury's doing a good job coaching him too. He's a well. He was stuck with Caleb Murray. He's a nut. I mean, he's not nut. I mean, he's a coach killer. I don't want to say that. That's probably not a nice way of saying it. But he's a coach killer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, the Dolphins. That coach is he's no the coach for Miami. He's not. He's too new age for me, man. Football's a but he's yeah. I think two is tenuous at best. Yeah, yeah. Do we have any text? Okay. No. I know we're going to talk about Hurricane Francine. Yes, that's what we're going. We're probably going to talk about Francine. Yes, yes. Okay. Yeah. Hey, we're back. WWL Odyssey.com. All things legal. We're on till 10 o'clock today. We're off next weekend. And then we're on the weekend, which is the 20th. The Saints play Thursday night against the Denver Broncos, which, well, I love playing against a rookie quarterback. Bo Nix may be good at some point next year, 2 years from now, but Denver is vulnerable, very, very vulnerable. He's just, unless he runs for 100 yards and does something like that, we should take care of business against Denver. So, but we'll be on the 20th, and then we'll be off till November 24th, which is a Saints bye week. So we're on in 2 weeks, and we're on one end of next month, and we'll probably start back up every day sometime in January, if this depending on if the Saints are in the playoffs or not. So we'll see. Um, Want to talk a little bit about Hurricane Francine because we've had Hurricane Francine September 11th, and a lot of the damage that was done in Canada, St. Charles Parish, was flood damage, and which is a different deal than homeowners. And I think a lot of people, you know, need to know the difference between filing a claim for flood damage. I think we've had Jefferson Parish had about 1,000 homes that were flooded. I think St. John Parish had maybe close to 750 to 1,000 homes that were flooded. You've had a lot with both flood and wind damage down in St. Mary's Parish and Terrebonne Parish and Lafourche, or more so Terrebonne. But uh, the flood policy and homeowners policy have two different policies that are underwritten by two, one's the federal government, one's private, and they have different timelines for filing claims. And I think you have to be aware of, you have a deadline coming up right now if you had a flood claim. But Albert, if you could talk about what's the difference pretty much between what is covered by a flood policy and what's covered by a homeowner's policy. Homeowners can't. Yeah. Now it's not a, now it's not only filling in your proof of loss claim, but filling it in for the highest amount that you may anticipate that you would need. Because a lot of people get confused because let's say the scenario would be that flood comes in and says, okay, you have $30,000 of flood damages. Here's a proof of loss to sign, and you will get your $30,000. And then you find out later that you may have $60,000 of flood damages. A lot of people get confused and say, well, I did file a proof of loss, or the claims adjuster provided me a proof of loss for 30, and I signed it, so therefore I'm covered. But you are only covered to get up to $30,000. So your proof of loss must not only be filed by November 10th, but it must be filed for the amount that you think that the highest amount that you think you may be entitled to, not what the proof of loss that's provided to you by FEMA. So, for example, you think you have $60,000 in damages. FEMA comes in with the claims adjuster and says, we think you have 30, and they give you a proof of loss for $30,000, and you sign it. You'll get that $30,000 because of, based on that proof of loss, because the claims adjuster provided that, but you have to file your own proof of loss for $60,000 to preserve the right to get up to $60,000. So just because FEMA gives you a proof of loss to sign, that doesn't preserve. It only preserves your right to get a payment up to that amount. But if you think you're entitled to more than that amount, you have to file your own proof of loss, separate and distinct from the one that you get from FEMA. And that's where people get confused. And so you have to do basically, and if you're not sure because you hadn't gotten a contractor out there in time to give you an estimate, go high and just get just file that proof of loss, get some type of substantiation from someone, just anything you can get, and file it so at least you preserve your right to do it. And as Albert had said, FEMA's out of money. FEMA's used a lot of their money that's entitled for NFIP, entitled for these type of disasters, or earmarked for it for other things. We all know what the other things are, and we're about to have a presidential election that's going to address those issues, or that's a big issue. But has not been maintained for victims of floods or victims of disasters, and that's where we are. So I don't suspect that FEMA is going to extend that deadline because they're going to want to use every technicality in order to mitigate what they have to pay out to deal with the shortfall for alternative spending on within their agency. Which we all have an election coming up, and however you feel about it, you can vote at the. I think the candidates are very clear on had clear distinctions on that particular issue. So, what I would, again, it would be very important because we've had this for Katrina, we've had this for Gustav, we've had this for Isaac, we've had this for, we've also had this for Ida. That a lot of people who've had flood damage that far exceeded what they were paid, and they came to us, after the deadline for filing the proof of loss, and we said, they missed by 100,000, they missed by 50,000, but we're sorry, there's not anything we can do because there was no proof of loss filed within that time period that was specified by the FEMA or National Flood Insurance Program. So it's very, very important that you do that. And also, too, when we come back, we'll talk about the contents list too. And if you hit some contents that were damaged, you're going to have to include that also in your proof of loss. And Albert will talk about what do you need to do in order to put together a contents list that would be digestible or favorably received by FEMA. So let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your Weekend Lawyers, All Things Legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I figure out what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. Let me see. Let me see the text. Okay, that's a good. Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, we'll do that with Albert. After we finish our explanation. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Right. It is very good. Okay. Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you weekend lawyers, all things legal. We're talking a little bit about flood claims, the difference between filing an insurance claim under flood versus homeowners, and they have a very important time period, um, time deadline that's coming up on November 10th. That you have to file your own proof of loss of what you think the maximum amount of damages are, or you lose your right to get any flood damages or anything above what FEMA agrees what your flood damages are. We were also talking about the fact that, as Secretary Mayorkas said, we're broke. We don't have any money. And we have Hurricane Milton is probably it's got a bullseye as a Category 3 on Tampa, and they're already out of money. So you can be sure that they are going to use these tight deadlines that are sort of obscure in the policy um, to mitigate what they have to pay out because they have not, I will say, managed the FEMA funds properly. Is that being kind, Albert? Trying not to be too political about this, but it is what it is. That's another 3 hour show. Yeah, and we're talking about contents, and
give this advice, but it's so important because we went through so many hurricane claims over the years, and then just through Ida and even Zeta. And a very important step is taking photographs. And a lot of people, take a couple of pictures of the big tree that might have fallen on the corner of their house, or, take a picture of some siding that blew off. But frequently, I mean, we fought a claim for a long time because people in the parts of the state that got really hammered. And so, did you take any pictures? Well, no, we really didn't. We were somewhere else, and we had to get it taken care of. And so then the question is, how can you prove your case? How can you prove that you had all of this contents that were damaged, and how can you prove what that contents was and without photographs? And how can you prove that it was damaged, right? And so nothing speaks better than a photograph. And everybody's got a phone these days, and they can just take tons of photographs of even if you have to inventory every item. It's a pain, but you think about what you're inventorying, and that if maybe you don't take this photo, you may not get it back. And so the next step would be to try to evaluate, what at least the retail value of those items are, and then you guys can negotiate back and forth what the depreciated value is, but find out what the value of those items are. Of course, the vast majority of people don't save receipts for their contents. I mean, they just don't. They might save some warranty stuff for their appliances, et cetera. But take photographs and then go to the internet and say, I had this type of table, let me go try to find a table that, on a retail site that looks somewhat like that. There's eBay, there's Facebook Marketplace. If you're even looking for kind of a depreciated value or, actual cash value of those items, and you can find them, take pictures of it, or not take pictures, but screenshot it or save that post to where people can go to it and see it. And I know it seems like a long, treacherous thing to do, but for everyone that you do, it's going to help you with your claim. And let me tell you, I worked for insurance companies for years when I started my career, and most of those adjusters are, just good people and want to help. But it's like, help me help you, right? I've got a claims supervisor and a claims manager all looking at my work. And so I have to substantiate why I'm paying you. And if you help that adjuster substantiate it, then they really almost have to pay you for those damages if you have it photographed and you have the value clearly stated on your form. And so it's like I said, it's a lot of work, but if you want that back, you need to include it.
Right. I think one of the things we find out, we're still rolling through our IDA claims, is, a lot of insureds, when we go to mediation, there's an offer. It's maybe not the best offer, but they have to decide whether to take it or not. But what we say is, look, if you go to the next level at trial, the work's probably going to be on you to get your receipts, all your receipts together.
Yeah.
To go through each item one by one and have a basis,
right.
And get a receipt for it, or get something on the internet of a comparable priced item.
Right.
And if you have 200 items that were damaged in a content claim, you go to court, you have to have everything documented, and that takes sometimes it takes a lot of man hours to do that. And a lot of people are saying, I'll do it. Some people say, no, I'm not interested in doing that.
Right.
I'll cut a deal. But it is work, and it is a high number of labor hours to do it, and it's arduous. It takes a long time. But if you do it, the insurance companies will digest it at some point, pay out. And I think insurance companies know that a lot of times a lot of insurers don't want to go through that process.
Right. And keep in mind, you're the plaintiff, right? You're the plaintiff in the lawsuit. Right. You have the burden to prove your case. And if you just say, oh, I had this, and this, and I think it cost about that much, that ain't going to cut it. You need to have some evidence that's, worthy evidence at trial to be able to go in and say, this is what it was. This is the best I could do. I don't have the receipts. They flooded. And so here's what I had, and this is what it looked like. Here's the photograph of what I had that's damaged. Here's another one that looks like, that, and this is what the cost was. And then all of a sudden, that's your satisfactory proof of loss. That likely won't go to trial, because they're gonna say, okay, at least from the content standpoint, they're gonna pay it because they're gonna have to pay it, and they'll have no defense to it.
We're not. It's not a court of speculation. It's a court of evidence, and you got to bring it. All right, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
WWL, home of your New Orleans Saints, always live on the free Odyssey app. Get the WWL shows you love delivered to your phone free. Download the Odyssey app and follow your favorites. Bobby Hebert, Mike DeTillier, Steve Geller. Listen when you want, how you want. Or tell your smart speaker, play WWL. Keep it locked on WWL for breaking sports news. Powered by BetQL. Smarter bets start with BetQL. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. WWL is proudly sponsored by injury lines. Call 444-4444. Can you hear that sound? That's someone spreading an illness in your facility. Don't worry. Jenny King, the king of clean, can help. For over 35 years, we've been cleaning and disinfecting office buildings, schools, churches, and even hospitals. Trust us to keep your employees safe, healthy, and at work this cold and flu season. Learn more about how our local cleaning experts can help you. Visit JennyKingCleans.com. That's JennyKingCleans.com. Tired of having to choose between reliability and savings on your mobile plan? Here's Cox Mobile, because with them, you get both. They run on a network that 100 million people already rely upon. Plus, you get it all at a price you will love, exclusively for Cox Internet customers. Pretty awesome, right? Now I'm ready to make the switch. With Cox Mobile, reliability and savings go hand in hand. Now that's the smart way to mobile. Cox Post Internet required. Learn more at cox.com/mobile.
Is the IRS on your back? Hi, this is Caitlin with No Tax Resolution. If you received a letter from the IRS or state demanding payment for back taxes, give the pros at Go Tax Resolution a call. Our team of former IRS agents and passionate resolution specialists will get to work right away. Owing the IRS can be scary, but you don't have to do it alone. Give us a call today at 985-222-1040 and let us give you peace of mind. Or go online to gotaxresolution.com. That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Hi, I'm Sam with Go Tax Resolution. Some claims for the Employee Retention Tax Credit will expire this year. Now is the time to call and see if you qualify. Call Go Tax Resolution at 985-722-1040 before they expire. The Employee Retention Tax Credit is a refund that businesses may qualify for if they maintain their employees during the pandemic. Some credits will expire this year. Contact Go Tax Resolution at 985-722-1040 or gotaxresolution.com. That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Botox is back at Wyland Plastic Surgery. Botox $11 per unit, October 14th through 18th.
Put this in and out.
You can live out your Master Chef dream. Will you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel?
FEMA reallocated the money for disasters to illegal aliens, and they're out of money. That's a short version.
Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today.
Well, no, that's why. I mean, they hold it in reserve
When you Angie that.
so that if there's a disaster, they're ready. But they don't have anything in reserve because they use it for the, housing. So,
I just want to say that
now,
friendship is about heart. Heart and brain.
it is.
Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows what he does.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy. Me too.
Know your bug's warning sign? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Bug's driving is drunk driving. That's the Trinita and the Ad Council. I'm John Aran, Bucks sports correspondent. I have a new podcast called The Varsity, where I will take you inside the executive suites and owners' boxes that run the entire sports business. Twice a week, I will bring on the smartest people I know to break down the hottest topics in sports media and give you a window into the inside conversations that are happening throughout sports media. So be sure to follow and listen to the Varsity Podcast, available now on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, we're back. Sunseri and Albert Nicaud, you can lawyers all things legal. That was hour number one. We've got national news, we've got local news. Then we'll be back for hour number two and all things legal. We're on today till 10 o'clock. We'll be on in 2 weeks on October 20th. And after that, November 24th. And we'll be off in between that. So stay tuned for hour number two, national news, local news. We'll see you in about 10 minutes on all things legal. See you then.
Lebanon, 70 is nice, so fun. 3 people have been killed and nearly 100 injured in this weekend's massive Israeli airstrike. Park 100 of the 2,000 killed in Lebanon since the bombing began were women and children. As Israel prepares to mark 1 year since the October 7th massacre, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has slammed France's leader and others.
All civilized countries should be standing firmly by Israel's side. The President Macron, other Western leaders, are now calling for an arms embargo against this. Shame on them.
Israel, whose reputation is still being held by Hamas, says her government should be doing more to free the hostages.
Should not be fighting for their family members and community members. It's the responsibility of our government, and they are not doing enough because of years past. And our loved ones are not here.
Israeli airstrikes on suspected Hamas targets in Gaza as well. Some 40,000 reported killed since that campaign began. 30 days to go until Election Day. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris entering the home stretch, still virtually neck and neck.
Harris is off the trail Sunday, holding meetings in Washington. Former President Trump drives to Wisconsin for an afternoon rally.
CBS's Bradley Blackburn reporting it's a game changer in labor disputes. Heather Bosch reports on new rules that should allow more than 33,000 striking Boeing workers to hold on to their health insurance. Under legislation passed recently by Washington state lawmakers for a situation due to a nice crash and get health insurance with Washington Health Center. Spokeswoman Shauna Fish said that's the website set up under the Affordable Care Act, also called Obamacare, where people not covered by an employer can sign up for coverage. Under the new state rules, striking workers can enroll in programs. The statement is signed immediately, and halting on the program increased today. Boeing machinists were set to lose company health plans during their strike. Heather Bosch, CBS News, Seattle. A week after Hurricane Helene killed at least 229 people and left hundreds of aid is starting to reach the thousands left homeless by the storm and floods. The forecasters say another hurricane could slam into Florida's Gulf Coast.
O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Clients, you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. Well, for Cruise, 98 on your official weather station, WQL.
Remains ahead with temperatures in the 70s, becoming 80s and sunshine around mostly cloudy skies. We'll continue with your forecast for the rest of this weekend and quiet as a cold front pushes south on Monday. That keeps all tropical impacts away.
WQL TV meteorologist Britt Blazer has a full look at the forecast coming up in just a minute. A night war standoff is over. The man who allegedly shot a minute is now in custody. Kevin Green is accused of shooting 2 men on Saturday afternoon, killing one of them. 5 hours after that shooting happened, police say Green shot at them when they tried to serve a warrant on him at a house a block away from where the homicide took place. That standoff continues until early Sunday morning when Green surrendered without further incident. He's facing second-degree murder and other charges. A LaFrance shooting has left an 11-year-old girl and a 50-year-old man dead. St. John Sheriff's deputies say it happened just before midnight Friday night at a house on North Sugar Ridge Drive. The third person was raging. Not for shooting is unexpected information. We can feeling a bit empty because there's no St. football today. A couple of events could help fill that void. But the event is today with Foghat, Blue Oyster Cult, and the Steve Miliband headlining. Or you have a hankering for fried chicken festival featuring Benton's Dairy Lake Club. Benton Ezra will perform later tonight to close out this year's success. Glad to get it in that voice you follow along. This People tell the first Sunday of the 2024 NFL regular season rolls off today, but Saints fans have to wait until Monday night for the Black Eagles battle in Kansas City with the Chiefs. After dropping back-to-back tight games to Philadelphia and Atlanta, the Saints' 2-0 start has been erased. Meanwhile, the Chiefs have struggled at times, but they still hold a 4-0 record with 4 one-score victories. Superstar quarterback Pat Mahomes has only 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, and his wide receiver core has been depleted, but there's one weapon that WWL Future Counter is worried about. Rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy. He's supposed to have the same game plan against the Chiefs. You gotta get your hands on him. You just want to get him the ball because he is so fast, he's so explosive. But he's right, and that's why I think you gotta get your hands on him because you can knock him off. If they can limit him to 20 plays, then he is going to be pretty fast every time. With losing Price and some other guys, I don't know if he can get the top of him off enough. And that's where I can beat him up a little bit. And he's not going to get looks every play. There's not many plays where I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm going to just let you have free access and let you get the ball out. I got to know that my safety's got to be over the top. As mentioned, the Chiefs won't have wide receivers Hollywood Brown or Rasheed Rice, and they'll also be without running back Isaiah Pacheco. Tight end Travis Kelce finally had a breakout game against the Chargers in Week 4, but he's also been quiet at times this year. Juice explained that the Saints will have to keep Worthy contained and eliminate his flash play potential.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to get my feed right on the computer.
Starts at 5 o'clock on Monday night here on the home of the Saints, WWL. Charlie Long, WWL Sports.
And Tulane Morgan covering the spread against UAB in American Conference play on Saturday. Final score, Tulane 71, UAB 20. Now, your Garcia Roofing forecast on WWL.
It will be beautiful across southeast Louisiana. Temperatures remain in the 70s to eventual 80s, topping out in the low to mid 80s on both sides of Lake Pontchartrain. As we head later into the week, the cold front arrives tomorrow to bring less humid air, with temperatures just a few degrees cooler. But the biggest impact is that it will push all tropical activity further south. So Milton progresses across the Gulf of Mexico into midweek, making landfall possibly as a major hurricane on Florida's western coastline, and then moves into Florida's peninsula. For WWL Legal, I'm meteorologist Brooke Laser.
And I'm Ian Ozan, WWL First News. Have a wonderful Sunday.
WWL, the news, talk, sports powerhouse of the Gulf South, is all things legal with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud. Underwritten by Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm. Join us on the Oakland Heart Jewelers talk and text line, 504-260-1870, or connect anytime, anywhere on the Odyssey app. Now, to our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union studios in the heart of New Orleans, here are attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri.
Hey, we're back. Hour number 2, Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Just call 260-1870. Text us on our Oakland Heart Talk and text line at 260-1870. And first hour, we were talking about a little bit about the differences between filing a flood claim and a homeowner's claim. With Hurricane Francis, we've had probably a higher number of flood claims because of the flooding in Kenner, St. Charles Parish, St. John's Parish, and Terrebonne and St. Mary's Parish. So this is a different deal. You have a deadline coming up November 10th that you have to file a proof of loss as to what you think the damages are or believe are the highest estimate of damages. And also that's for structure and contents. And if you don't, you will lose your right to have additional damages because of the sort of an obscure provision in the policy. It's saying that you have to file a proof of loss within 60 days. And as we talked about before, FEMA is broke. A lot of the FEMA funds have been diverted for other purposes. And I think FEMA is in no mood to be paying out damages that they don't have to because you didn't comply with the technical requirements. And so you're just going to have to dot your I's and cross your T's, or chances are you're not going to be able to collect for the full extent of your damages. So I think, Albert, that's just a reality. I don't think we're going to get any breaks. I don't think we're going to get any extensions.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, especially with these other hurricanes heading our way, and not our way, heading towards the United States. It's very unlikely that there'll be any extensions of that deadline. So it's very important, and we'll repeat it again before the end of the show, just to make sure that people that are just tuning in hear that. Another thing that I want to mention and talk about, and if you own a business, any business, if you own a business, you need to be aware of the Corporate Transparency Act. And
yes.
basically what the federal government has done is they have required now any business owners to fill out this Corporate Transparency Act form. It's called a beneficial ownership reporting. So basically what you're doing is you're going to fill out a form and say, okay, who owns this company? Who are the owners of this company? So they'll know where the money from these companies are going. And so it's very important that you fill it out. You have to do it by the end of this year. If you don't, penalties can be $500 a day, up to $10,000 for just failing to fill out the form. So to comply, I mean, there's a lot more to talk about as to what this is and why they're doing it. But to comply, go to the Louisiana Secretary of State website. Again, this is a federal policy, not state. We're advising all of our corporate clients, just anybody who owns a business, small business owners, et cetera. Go to Louisiana Secretary of State website, and there's a tab called Business Services. Click on it, and there'll be a drop down on the left. And it's entitled Beneficial Ownership Reporting, in parentheses, Corporate Transparency Act. And it gives you instructions of a link to the national federal website where you need to go and fill out that form. And so we are sending notices to all of our clients that we're aware of that have any type of business for them to, and look, it's free to fill out. Just fill out the form, send it in. You can fill it out online. But if you don't do it, the penalties are very severe. And so it's something that we're going to continue to recommend. We're not on every week, but as we get closer and closer to the deadline of the end of this year, you definitely want to make sure that you go to the Secretary of State's website, find the Business Services, and then Beneficial Ownership Reporting tab, and it'll bring you to that site. Well, it'll open it up and it'll give you a link to the site with the federal government to go ahead and fill out this form. So anyway, that's again, we'll try to announce that before the end of the show as well.
And let's go to phone lines. Let's go to Dwight from Mandeville, who was actually a classmate of Albert. And what do you have for us, Dwight, besides telling us that when Albert was quarterbacking and it was 3rd and 27, the coach would still make him run the ball, right?
Exactly right. I have to start by saying Albert's classmates put me up to the call because I think he must have been a bully. Because he was after me, but he must have been a bully because his classmates were scared to call. But I'm not going to say the name, but his initials of PC or whatever put me up to the call to straighten this thing out. And also, I like Albert, but I love Mike. Mike had the best freaking jump shot I've seen to this day. And Mike was a couple years ahead of me at St. Paul. So I love the most beautiful jump shot to this day at St. Paul.
There you go.
So,
no, Mike was.
I want to correct you guys about this. Albert, I played at Oregon.
Exactly.
I come from a big football fan. There was 6 of us. My brother Isaiah. Doug, you might remember my brother Isaiah. I was playing around.
Sure do. That's the soul.
I broke the family tradition in Oregon. So I'm a Pac-12 guy. And Albert, I want to tell you that all the quarterbacks come from the Pac-12 for the most part. Even Jalen Dannon started at Arizona State, where he was a freshman. He beat the crap out of Oregon as a true freshman. So the West Coast group those guys, and the SEC. Nick Saban got to a point where he had to start playing some offense. That SEC knows all defense stuff is played out now. Football, right now we're in an offensive-minded era, so that's why the quarterbacks are coming to they're coming to the SEC now because they started to play them off.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. Yeah, no, Dwight, let me tell you a little backstory on Dwight. We played a lot of ball together. We played basketball together. We played football together. He was our stud running back, the high school All-American, the hurdler extraordinaire. Dwight was quite the athlete. Jimmy Dunn Award winner, right?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good times together. We really did.
Yeah. Your brother.
I ran to Mike about a year ago, and I tell Mike that I patted my jump shot out to Mike. And basketball was probably my worst sport, but your brother Mike had a beautiful jump shot. And when my two boys were the same part and they played basketball, I used to tell him about your brother Mike and that beautiful jump shot that Coach Bennett gave him.
Oh, look, yeah.
I'm sorry, I got to go to the call watch. Y'all caught me going to the call watch, but I'm sorry about the noise.
We got you. Well, I can tell you this for a fact that Isaiah was one of Bum's favorites when he played with the Oilers. Is that right, Dwight?
Yes. And he and Archie were really good friends as well. And I ran to Archie every now and then, and we talked about Isaiah used to get after him. They were good friends as well. But yeah, you guys probably know he was
in car accident, right?
Yeah.
A couple years ago. Yeah. But there was six brothers, and all six of us played through college. And I broke the family tradition because they had the ones before me went to Southern, and I went to Oregon, and my younger brother followed me to Oregon.
Okay.
But,
y'all must have had some heck of a games on the front lawn, huh?
Well, believe it or not, guys, Isaiah would have been like a third-round draft choice in the backyard.
Oh, there you go.
Isaiah wasn't the toughest, and the funny story about Isaiah is he went to Southern as a receiver.
Yes.
Really?
And his junior year, he got kicked off the team, and the defensive coordinator asked the head coach, "Can I have him over here on defense? I want to put him at linebacker." And all of us was dying laughing, like, "Wait a minute, he's not going to tackle anybody. How you going to put him at linebacker?" Put him at linebacker because he had speed to chase down. Because at that time, the SWAC had a lot of fast running backs. So they put him at linebacker. And as you guys know, 2 years at linebacker, ended up being number one draft choice. And to this day, he's the highest drafted athlete ever to come out of Southern.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Good pedigree.
In the backyard, I had to pull out before I picked out there.
Man.
He was like
third round pick. Well,
Yeah, Dwight, we just had our 45th high school reunion. I went back this weekend, saw Coach Taylor and a couple other people. A lot of them are gone, but but Coach Taylor was still there. We got to visit a little bit. We had fun, and of course Gene Bennett's gone, and he was just such a role model for all of us. I can't say enough about him.
That's it.
B.P. Clark.
I saw Penn, yeah.
He's so sadly about you. He's scared to say it to your face, but I'm gonna tell you, man.
Okay.
He said that you could decide of a barn as a quarterback.
I agree with that. I think he's speaking truth. He's speaking truth. Absolutely.
Dwight, before we get to your legal issue, it'd be fair to say that Albert would not be endangering Jaden Daniels' record of 83% completion rate, right? Is that fair?
I can't answer that, Doug, because he was behind me, and as quarterback, my quarterback was the guy Richard Oakland, so he didn't play quarterback with me. Now, I saw him on the basketball court a little bit because he got to get some basketball.
Gotcha.
As a quarterback, I
Okay. On basketball, I could tell you this: he would never lead the team in assists. Is that correct?
That's true.
All right. Dwight, we're out of time. Yep.
All right, Dwight, what you got for us? You got Albert for free now for about 5 minutes. What do you have for them for free now?
I'm over my family's estate, and I'm trying to bring it to a closure.
Mm-hmm.
And we got some properties and that's some monies or whatever, but I'm at a loss because we have a family house, and I got people that's part of the estate that lives in the house, and I'm trying to figure out a way to bring things to the end, but the house is the issue.
Yeah.
And they can't afford to buy $1,000, but that's the issue.
Yeah. At some point, you're going to have to close the succession. And I mean, they can't afford to buy out. I mean, they may have to go rent. I see it all the time where somebody will move into a house, and when mom and dad are still alive or whatever, mom or dad, and then they don't want to leave. Oh, this is partly my house, I'm staying. And meanwhile, the other siblings don't get their share of that portion of the estate. And I've seen people leave a house to a child because they want to have them have a place to live, but sometimes the child's so inept that they can't even afford to pay the taxes, insurance, and maintenance on it. And so, and sometimes there might even be a mortgage still, and so it's all good intentions, but it ends up backfiring to some degree, because that person can't afford to live there. And then of course it puts the other siblings in a bit of a pickle, because they're the bad guys that have to force their siblings out of the house in order to get their inheritance. But at some point it's like, look, guys, go to the bank, get a mortgage. If you can't do it, we got to sell the house. And if they don't want to and they refuse, there's a procedure called a partition where you file with the court, and it allows the property to be appraised and be sold on the open market. And at that point, they're just going to have to find somewhere else to live. Of course, they're going to come into some money, and so that could help them with deposits and moving, for the rental, for lease, and moving to the apartment. And then at that point, they're going to have to rent, or it's just they can't just live there for free on your nickel and the other siblings' nickel.
Yeah, those are tough personal decisions to make, because at some point, the other heirs are like, hey, I own part of this house. I'm not getting any benefit. And so, maybe the ones who are living there own 1/5 of the house, but they get 100% benefit of it. And there's an inequity there. And it is, it causes family disharmony. But, if you sell the property, they would get a portion of it, and they could, rent and do, they could rent. But, that's just, that is some tough personal decisions to make, or family decisions that, do have some, I guess, consequences to it.
Yeah.
Albert, you described it perfectly. I mean, the only thing that was different is that there's not a mortgage on the house.
Right.
Everything else is right on point.
Gotcha.
Right on point. So that's why
If you need help with it, let me know. Or if you got an attorney handling it, call the attorney and say, hey, look, I talked to a guy that, mentioned something about a partition. Can you tell me about that? And you can actually do that through the succession. If the succession is still open, you can do that through the succession and have the house sold. And it's, it's not going to be pretty, but at the end of the day, it's the fair thing to do. So, call me if you have any questions. You call at the office, 504-837-1304. Just look us up on the internet. All right, Dwight. Great talking to you, man.
Dwight.
Next time you're over here, give us a call. I'd love to go grab lunch with you.
All right.
What's that?
really bad about you.
Yeah. Tell him, ask him who missed the extra point against Ponchatoula, right?
All right.
Anyway.
All right, Dwight.
Good talking to you, Dwight.
All right, Dwight. Thanks for the
care,
call. Man. All right, let's go to break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out. Yes, that was good. That was good.
Get ready for Monday Night Football at Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go Gus. That's in Slidell. That's in Slidell. It's a waterfront community in Slidell.
Did you underestimate your tax liability or receive tax notices from
Okay,
the IRS?
gotcha.
Don't let your situation get out of control. Call Go Tax Resolution, your local tax professional, to help you or your clients get back on track. 985-722-1040. That's 985-722-1040. Or reach out to us at gotaxresolution.com. That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Hi, this is Sam with Go Tax Resolution. Are you overwhelmed with tax notices and don't know where to turn? Well, Go Tax Resolution has former IRS agents that specialize in tax and will find the best solution for you. Give Go
It's
Tax
the person who
Resolution
still
call.
owns it. If a hurricane hits, you can get out the contract.
Take back control. That's 985-722-1040. Or visit us at gotaxresolution.com.
Well, it depends on if it closed or not.
taxresolution.com.
I'm Crystal,
Yes.
and this is my life with California Closets. I'm an interior designer who really believes good design has the power to transform your life. I trust
Right.
California
Now,
Closets
the
for
difference
all of my
is
clients at my own home as
most
well.
insurance
Not only is it
most
functional,
mortgage
it's
companies require
absolutely
you to get
beautiful.
insurance.
I love
So
recommending
you'll have
California
insurance.
Closets. Not only do my
You're not,
clients
they're not going to let you buy a
friends and
house with
family,
insurance.
basically
if you
anyone
do
who I
mortgage.
can tell.
So
Schedule your
you'll
free
be
design
okay.
consultation today at CaliforniaClosets.com.
Yes.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship.
The day before you can get out because you're not buying it.
Qualifying and
You're
enrolling
not
in the
buying what
program
you
will stop all
contracted to
collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-727-9105. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-727-9105. 800-727-9105. 800-727-9105.
All things legal on WWL. Consult with Nico and
Where's
Sunseri
Gus
now
from?
on our Jewelers
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
and Text
Yes.
line 504-260-1870. And don't forget to rewind on the Odyssey app.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Isaiah Robertson, Dwight's brother, was the number 10 pick in 1971 draft. And that was the same draft that Archie Manning was second with the Saints, and Jim Plunkett was first with the Patriots, and Dan Pastorino was third with the Oilers. And he ended up playing for the Rams for 8 years, terrorized the Saints for 8 years because the Saints were in the same division as the Rams, and he just terrorized us for 8 years, and then he went to play for the Buffalo Bills. So he was a great one.
Dwight also was Dwight was a great guy. We had a lot of fun together. We played, basketball for 5-6 years together, 4 or 5 years together. He was a year ahead of me at St. Paul's, and he was a gazelle, man. He could run for days, and he was a running back for my junior year. He was a senior, and I think he still has the high hurdle record over there. I mean, he was just a really good athlete. And a lot of fun. Good guy all around. I mean, good to hear from him.
That's it. And let's go to phone lines. Let's go to Gus from Eden Isles in Slidell. Hey, Gus, what do you have for us?
How's it going there? I was wondering, my pool got flooded in July 14th, and I had to drain it for about $2,000, and then the motor of the pool got damaged. That's another $1,000. And then some damage in the backyard. Up here isn't covered by a flood, though, right?
No, just the footprint of your house is covered by the flood.
I didn't. Can I recoup the money that I spent draining the pool and the motor of the pool that was damaged from the flood?
No.
And stuff in the backyard that got ruined?
not from your flood policy, or because the flood policy only covers the footprint of your house, and so anything outside of that's not covered by flood. Landscaping is not covered by flood or wind, and depending on certain circumstances, your homeowners may or may not cover certain aspects of the pool, depending on the causation of what happened. But if it's flood, I think you're sort of out of luck with the pool.
Yeah, and thing is with the homeowners too, you're likely to have too high of a deductible to cover those damages. So.
Yes.
So the pool and the motor of the pool and all the other stuff that won't be covered by the
No. No.
insurance.
The flood policies are very narrowly. Their coverage is very narrow, and basically, private insurance companies do not want to provide flood coverage generally because the risk is too big. 90% of all insureds would live within 60 miles of a major body of water. And most private insurance companies would say that's too big of a risk. So what happened was the government stepped in and they provide actually a flood policy. And they do provide for contents and structure within the footprint of the residence, but those coverages are very narrowed. You don't have recovery for penalties and attorney's fees if they don't pay enough money out soon enough. Also, too, if you go to trial, you can't even collect your court costs from FEMA. So the coverages are a lot more narrowed. They probably parallel the coverages that you would have for a LIGA case, where if your homeowners went bankrupt and LIGA stepped in, the coverages are greatly narrowed. So in your case, the pool would not be covered.
Right, yeah.
So in your case,
It was not covered by hurricane damage.
not by no. Okay, thanks.
Guys, sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
Bearer of bad news. Now, you see, again, I think when we explained the flood policy, there was a hole in the market because most private insurers didn't want to cover flood damage. That would be they viewed as a risk. I mean, just very simply, if you had the Mississippi River overflow, that would even put State Farm out of business, or some of these very strong insurance companies,
Right.
or put them at great peril. So they said, we're going to get away from this risk. So what the federal government has stepped in to provide coverage for flood, but these coverages are very narrowed. You don't have business loss. You don't have loss of use. You do not have some of the other bells and whistles that you have in your homeowner's policy. Also, too, if the flood policy doesn't pay out, or the claims adjusters do not pay out within a certain period of time, undisputed amounts, there's no penalties. And so there's recovery of attorney's fees, or recovery of even court costs, recovery of expert fees. So therefore, when you do get in litigation with your flood insurer, they have a significant negotiation advantage because you don't have that type of leverage to sort of facilitate endanger the insurance company where they feel like they'd have to pay out to maybe cover some vulnerabilities for not processing the claim properly. So again, it's good that the government stepped in to fill this void in the market, but they have this technical requirement that you have to file a proof of loss within 60 days, or you lose your right to recover for a supplemental claim. And the coverages are very, very narrow. And so it is what it is. And that's how, those are the parameters you have to deal with.
Right. No, yeah. And at the end of the day, you go fight, you get a lawyer to have to file your claim for you at some point. And, you've got to have an attorney's fee taken out. You're going to have all your court costs. You're going to have to hire experts. And so it's just, it's hard to, It's an uphill climb. Win those and make your client happy as an attorney, because so much of their claim is going to be taken out just to try to prosecute the claim. And so
yes,
do your best to on the front end to get a very good adjuster or a very good contractor to go in there and document. So you don't have to get to that point where you have to hire a lawyer, or you have to, because at some point there's a diminishing return, depending on how much you're trying to collect back from FEMA.
Because basically, when we settle these cases, flood cases or LIGA cases, we always say the inflection point to settle is when you're going to spend $1 to make $1. And at a certain point, it becomes the cost benefit analysis doesn't um, measure up, and you end up, even though you're underpaid, in order to get that extra money, you're going to have to spend that extra money to get the ability to collect that extra money. So,
Yeah.
all right, we have a text also, Albert. It says, if I'm in the middle of purchasing a home and a hurricane comes through, who's legally charged with repairing the home?
Well, so in terms of the repairs or in terms of the cost burden, right? So, and we saw this a lot because, Katrina was at the end of the month, I'm sorry, Ida was at the end of it. A lot of these hurricanes just so happened to be like the 30th or the 31st when a lot of real estate closings occur. Instead of mid-month, they try to close them out at the end of the month. Somebody will take over, the first day of the next month. But no, some people were actually had to evacuate before their closing occurred. And so the property is going to be insured by the seller, right? So the seller would have insurance, and it's a negotiable thing for the buyer, right? Do you still want the house? Was it just a few shingles that blew off? Was it flooded, and now all of a sudden, I don't want a flooded house anymore. I want to, back out of the deal because of the casualty that occurred. So, in terms of paying for those damages, the purchaser would not have had a policy in place yet, so there would be no coverage for the purchaser to make those repairs. So a lot of times what happens is, hey, look, you want to buy the house, you can buy the house, and I will assign my rights to these proceeds to you, and then you go ahead and make the claim based upon the damages that occurred prior to your sale. But yeah, it depends a lot on how much damages that occurred. I mean, if the house is blown away, obviously, there's not going to be any type of sale or transaction because the purchaser has no coverage because he didn't purchase the home yet, and therefore there's no coverage for any of the damages and the casualties that may have occurred.
In that case, the seller could not compel the purchaser to still purchase the home under certain conditions. In other words, the purchaser has the right to not proceed with the sale because the house that they bargained for is in a different condition than the house that's being delivered. Is the short version.
Yeah.
And
correct.
So,
and the purchase agreement, they'll typically has a clause in the contract that accepts for that.
But
So,
okay. Let's do a takeoff on that. Let's say that a seller is selling a hurricane damaged house to a purchaser. Then the purchaser knows it's hurricane damage and is buying it under those conditions. But there's a pending insurance claim. What happens to that insurance claim in connection with the sale?
Well, it gets assigned. It gets sold with the house, and so and it depends, right? It depends on what the value of the purchase price is. If I'm buying it as is, right? So if it's typically a $300,000 house and you got $100,000 worth of damages, and you're only buying it for $200,000, then the seller of that house gets to keep the insurance proceeds. But if he's going to want to be made whole, or the seller is going to want to be made whole on the property. So look, I'll sell it to you for X more, and then you get to do what you need to do with the insurance company. And again, it's all a negotiation, and I would be very skeptical about buying that. You really need to inspect it thoroughly. Just go through it, every nook and cranny, because there's hurricane damage. So We don't know if there's mold. We don't know if the electrical system got damaged because of the water. There's a million variables that you really need to look into. And so, it just buyer beware when you're buying a house that's sustained hurricane damage.
Right. And one of the things you can do if you're buying a house that's hurricane damaged is ask the seller to provide a copy of the estimates that the insurance, or basically the insurance file, the claims adjuster's estimates, and any estimates that you had in connection with, filing or anticipating on filing an insurance claim. And that information could be helpful in evaluating what's the
how much has been paid, how much has the seller already received, right? And so that obviously, and what was the deductible, because that's going to have to be deducted from the purchase price because the seller already received that amount.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. All right. Well, hopefully, as far as hurricanes are concerned, we're done with them. Since usually when we get in October, with the exception of Zeta, we usually have these cold fronts that are coming
Right.
through every 5 or 10 days that are protecting us, and they're actually protected us from the last two hurricanes, Francine and Helene and
Yeah.
Milton. So thank goodness for us, and not good for others. But let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your Weekend Lawyers, All Things Legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
WWL, home of your Saints and LSU. Always live on the
Yes, I was. Thank you. I was looking at the board. This lobby's a little dark, so I was looking at the board. I usually have my setup at home where I have everything like in place, so I'm not dealing with all the production issues.
Starting Monday at 3 p.m. at Rouse's Market on Barone in the CBD. Brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Enjoy responsibly. Message for 21 plus 2024 Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for.
All right, we have another caller. She calls pretty consistently. Leon from out of state. She calls every so often. Calling from Mississippi. She is calling from out of state.
Okay.
But the question is kind of generic, and she's wondering, as she refers to herself as a geezer, so she's up in age apparently, and she was wondering if there are some general recommendations about what a person should be careful with regards to estate planning, and she built on it and said also incapacitation plans.
A gallery of high-end pools. Then get your free quote. That's DuplessisBuilders.net. Anybody can build an average pool. At Duplessis Builders, we build extraordinary pools. Get yours today.
Insurance companies have teams of professionals to fight your claim.
You
want to know what your case is really worth? I'm Spencer Callahan.
That's a female, right?
Callahan is the one to see. Call 475-2323. LA 16-7908. Sports fans, it's time to level up your Thursdays by joining the crew at the all-new Treasure Chest Casino in Kenner. 4 to 7 p.m. for Sports Talk. Dive into black and gold action. Bet on the games and enjoy undefeated food and drink. Don't miss the party. Only at Treasure Chest Casino, where the game is always on. Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important.
I'm going to watch it on the way home on my YouTube, on my archives.
Or basement flooding, which
Keep driving, I watch it on YouTube.
Let's
On my
face it,
phone.
cleaning gutters yourself is not only hassle.
I get the red zone, so I like watching the red zone because you get to watch whoever's about to score.
Get started today by visiting WeFilter.com/17
17-0, I see that.
If you decide to move forward, will professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters.
I keep
before
waiting for
installing
Minnesota to come back to earth.
Steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable, no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/rain. That's leaffilter.com/rain.
Weather can be unpredictable nowadays, but your local news station on the free Odyssey app has got you covered. Whether you need an umbrella, windbreaker, or an extra layer, or two.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the quarterback really doesn't matter that much.
News station to listen on your smartphone or ask your smart speaker to play it before you head out
Well,
the
he's
door.
just managing.
Free Odyssey app.
I mean, he bombed him with the Jets. He bombed with Carolina. I know.
All things legal on WWL-AMFM.com and the Odyssey app. Connect with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud on the Oakland Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri. Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Cleon. Cleon's got some estate planning questions. Hey, Cleon, nice to hear from you.
Thank you. Good morning. I am out of state, so I hope my question is general enough and not to be a nuisance. But I don't care much who fights over the crumbs if I, have anything left that I don't have to spend on my own care. But do you have any general recommendations while my savings last on a plan for incapacitation if I need somebody to help, as long as life is worth living? A legal plan for incapacitation, and beyond that, if I have to go outside my scrappy family, let me interject something I heard years ago that you might enjoy. I'd turn on the radio at the very end just to hear the interviewee say, look, what you Yanks call a dysfunctional family is what we Brits call a family.
There you go. There you go.
And there I am. So, any general recommendations on a plan for my incapacitation? And since I will likely have to go outside the family, to indemnify and remunerate the executor of my will?
Well, I guess there's two aspects of it. For incapacity, this is while you're living, is that if you're unable to have the cognitive ability or physical ability to make your own decisions, power of attorney will you designate an agent to make those decisions on your behalf. And so the one document we'd recommend you doing is a power of attorney, which if you become incapacitated, they can make medical decisions for you. They could make financial decisions for you. They could make decisions regarding where you live for you if you can't make those yourself. Now, the power of attorney would only apply while you're living. Now, as far as executor is concerned, or a succession representative, you would address that in your will. And basically what a succession representative does, it carries out the terms and conditions of your wishes in connection with your last will and testament. So those are sort of two different things. So initially, you'd want to do a power of attorney, which is fairly basic. An attorney can do that, usually a very reasonable price, and you would just have someone else designated to make your decisions. You would come into effect only if you are unable to make your own decision. That would be number one.
When it comes to naming an executor, if I have going outside the family, should I be doing anything to protect him from the family?
Well, if you mean is protect, they have. I mean, basically, they're charged with carrying out the terms and conditions of the will. And as long as they're doing that, they're your representative. As long as they're doing that and they're following the tenets of the will, in essence, they are the protection from your family, and the courts are the protection of your family, because the courts will also require the executor to do, to carry out, the tenets or the request of the will.
Yeah, and in terms of protecting them, you can always set compensation for your executor in the will, and say, I want my executive to get a percentage. That's typically the best way to go because you're not really sure how much you're going to have at the time of your death. So, I want my executive to have a percent, this X percent, whatever you decide. In Louisiana, there's a statutory amount that can be, or is more of a suggestion for the court, but it's 2.5% of the estate. That's one way to protect them. The other way is to have a clause placed in your will that basically says if anyone challenges the appointment of this executor, or if anyone challenges any aspect of the will, then they're written out of it. They're excluded from the will, and then all of a sudden, everybody behaves themselves.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have the greatest respect for your integrity and for sharing all you know.
Absolutely. Thanks for the call.
Very kind. Okay, let's go to our final break. This is Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
WWL, the News Talk Sports Powerhouse. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Get the WWL shows you love delivered to your phone.
Very nice.
Download the Odyssey app and follow your favorites. Tommy Tucker, Newell Norman, Scoot. Listen when you want, how you want, or tell your smart speakers, play WWL. Breaking news about the Saints and LSU on WWL is powered by BetQL. Smarter bets start with BetQL. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com. WWL is proudly sponsored by Dudley DeBosier Injury Lawyers. Call 444-4444.
Gotcha. Okay.
At WWL, we're more than just a station. We're a trusted voice in our community, dedicated to informing, entertaining, and guiding our listeners through all of life's moments. This is Robbie Bowen, Vice President of Sales for Odyssey New Orleans at WWL. And I'm excited to announce...
Why don't you read that one to Albert? Read it. I'm going to go to the text on that one, and I'm going to let Albert answer that one.
Local businesses grow through effective advertising.
Yeah. Well, I'll go to you. I say, and then you read it. Okay.
Tackle today's business challenges.
Yeah.
If you're passionate about turning those challenges into opportunities, making a professional impact, and contributing to our vibrant community, we want to hear from you. Apply today at odyssey.com/careers and take the first step towards building a fulfilling career with us. Together, let's make a difference in New Orleans. Odyssey is an equal opportunity employer.
Hi, this is Elena with Go Tax Resolution. Do you owe money to the IRS? 170 million tax notices go out each year, and the time for COVID extension.
Hey, Albert, you there?
Yeah.
Take back control of your tax situation.
I got a text that Doug wanted me to read out. We're gonna come back. He's gonna pass it to me, and I'll read it. And it's a text for you involving. I'll read it out, but to get the ball rolling a little bit. The text says, "Good morning. I was recently involved in an accident, and the person that caused the accident was cited accordingly. But your vehicle insurance company is indicating that they aren't responsible for anything because the driver, parentheses, the son of the insured, is listed as an excluded driver. Do I have any other recourse than my own insurance? This seems unreasonable."
Here to help. Call 985-722-1040.
Yeah, I mean, if they're an excluded driver under the policy, there's no coverage for that driver's liability.
GoTaxResolution.com.
We're back in about a minute. Doug will carry it to me, and then I'll read it out over to you, and then we'll be good to go. You'll have a good, 4.5 minutes here to cover it. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I covered it. I just covered it. Yeah.
You love. Come on, fella. Really simple.
Hallmark Channel, and so much more. Featuring current seasons of all the best drama, true crime, reality, and family-friendly shows you can't afford to miss. Get started today and unlock our library of over 75,000 movies and shows. And save all your favorites with the unlimited TV offer. Rewatch them anytime, anywhere, for up to a year. Follow now includes access to AMC Plus. You can discover your next obsession from its collection of hit originals like Mad Men,
we'll have time to talk.
Killing Eve, Orphan Black, and tons of blockbuster movies. There are no contracts, no commitments, and no hassle. For just $28 a month, Philo's a better way to watch TV. So what are you waiting for? Visit Philo.tv and sign up today to start your 7-day free trial. That's PHILO.tv.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Colin, we have a text regarding a excluded driver in an automobile accident case.
We
And
do,
what you got?
Albert. Yeah, this is up your alley, Albert. We have good morning. I was recently involved in an accident, and the person that caused the accident was cited accordingly. But their vehicle insurance company is indicating that they aren't responsible for anything because the driver, aka the son of the insured, is listed as an excluded driver. Do I have any other recourse other than my own insurance? Because this seems unreasonable.
Actually, no, unfortunately, but I would ask to see a copy of the policy, or at least the exclusion in the form that the agent filled out that specifically excludes that particular resident of the household. And you can do that. I mean, you can exclude certain drivers, and it makes your insurance cheaper because that driver may have had some accidents or who knows what. And people are coming up with creative ways to avoid the penalties and the tickets and everything else for not having insurance. And so, a policeman pulls them over, there's going to be an insurance card in the car showing that, there's coverage for the vehicle, and it's going to list the vehicle and the coverage periods, et cetera. And so, a lot of people are doing that, but they're excluding certain drivers and, hoping that, now, I guess if they had any type of collision coverage for the other vehicle, that would be excluded too. But I would just ask the adjuster, could you please send me proof that, this is in fact an excluded driver under the policy. And then, if it was just a property damage to the vehicle, you're unfortunately going to have to pay your deductible and get it fixed yourself.
And hence, that's one of Albert's recommendations regarding the need for uninsured motorist coverage when you get, especially if you live in the greater New Orleans area.
Right.
So,
yes. So the other thing I wanted to finish up, we got a couple of minutes. I wanted to read this again because I think it's very important. We're going to be off for a while. So the federal government has passed a Corporate Transparency Act, and anyone who owns a business, any business, needs to go fill out a form on the website. You can get that form by going to the state Louisiana Secretary of State's website. Click on the Business Services tab. Drop-down menu will say Beneficial Ownership Reporting, and it says Corporate Transparency Act. Click on that, and it'll give you all the information about it. But there are severe penalties if you don't file before the end of the year, like $500 a day, I think, up to $10,000. So to avoid that, all you have to do is click on it, fill it out, and basically who is the beneficial owner of this company? Where does the income go? And so they've had issues with all these shell companies and these foreign companies coming in and not disclosing who the real owners are. And anyway, so they want to avoid some corporate fraud, whatever the case may be. But go to that website and get it done. It's very simple. It doesn't cost anything. It's a filing.
all right. And so we'll, that's almost a wrap. We'll be back in 2 weeks on All Things Legal, and thereafter November 24th. And Albert, for tomorrow night, you say take the Saints plus 5.5. That's your recommendation.
Yes. Take the Saints in the 5.5. I like 5.5. I think the Saints are going to play them tight. We've got a terrific defense, and and great. That's one of the best offenses in the NFL. But saying all that, I think if we can put a couple plays together on offense, we win.
All right. We'll see you in a couple of weeks on All Things Legal. Have a great week and go Saints. Do that.